There's only a few ways that we can actually drive traffic. You have basically posting content and going viral, which is the hardest way, and I would not recommend that. That's a Mr. Beast, Kim Kardashian, that type of stuff. You have organic outreach, which is reaching out to strangers, okay? Then you have organic followers, so reach out to people who engage on your social media, right? So if you go back to my social media page, I can reach out to 455,000 people, right? And then finally, you have paid ads. So let's go from hardest to easiest on what you could do. So the first and foremost is you could try to go viral. I don't recommend it. Going viral is almost what I'm trying to do now with my YouTube. I'm trying to post really good content that gets a lot of views and builds trust and it goes viral. And recently I shot a video, and viral is contextual to the person, but it's getting about 3,000 to 4,000 views a day. At the time of shooting this video, it's about 50,000 views. And I believe it's gonna continue to go up and go up. And that helps get traffic to me, brings people to my offers and stuff like that. But the downside is you don't see all the hours I'm doing for prep. So, we've probably spent, on the last 10 videos, we probably spent, I'd say 40 hours of prep plus editing and post-production, probably another, 40 hours? I mean, it's crazy. So that's 2 work weeks right there just to shoot about 10 videos. And most people can't do that because they don't have a big enough team. They don't have editors. I have 12 editors. I have a video manager. This is the last step of building a business, okay? Even a lot of you who watch my channel, you watch Alex Hormozi and those individuals, Gary Vee, they didn't start here. This was their 5th step of trajectory, right? After they'd already made a lot of money. So never start here. The second thing you could do though, is you could start outreaching. So when I started building my business, all I did is I said, okay, if I have more conversations with people, I have a higher chance of closing deals. Just like if I wanted to go on a date and I asked out 100 girls, I have a higher chance than the guy who asked out 10. So all I focused on were these metrics. I would reach out to 100 people. And the way you could find these people is I'll actually show you on the screen. You got 2 main ways. So we could go to Facebook. I type in fitness, okay? And I could go into groups on Facebook and just start joining all these groups and then looking for individuals in those groups who are overweight. And then I reach out to those individuals. If you do that 100 messages a day, 20 per hour, so it takes about 5 hours of work, you would get maybe 10 to 20% to respond, 10 to 20 people. And then out of those 10 to 20 people, you could book 3 sales calls and close 1. And if you're selling a $2,000 plus program, boom, bada bing, that's $2K. That's a lot of money for a lot of people. And then you can start moving into paid advertising. We're gonna come to that in a second. The other way you could do it is usually IG hashtags. So if I'm on Instagram and you type in, let's say I just type in business, okay? If I type in business, and then all this stuff will start to pop up, right? So you can even see Alex Hormozi's right here. He's got this, boom. He just posted this October 13th. You could start seeing different people around the topic you want. And then if you're looking for individuals to work with, you can then reach out to those individuals. So the hard part though is a lot of times if I'm trying to find someone who I want to help build their business, if you type in business, it might be a lot of business motivational posts. So you might have to get through a lot of these posts to find someone who needs help. So the goal is trying to find hashtags that relate to your avatar, but they're not so specific that the only people who are posting on these hashtags are not people, you can sell. For example, Alex Hormozi is right here. You're not going to sell to him. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense on that. So that's the next hardest, right? But it's more doable. And the reason it's more doable is it's just an output game. That's it. It's an output. You don't have to have a big following. You don't have to be good at sales. You don't have to be good at messaging. If you're better, it's going to be easier, right? And it'll happen faster. But even if you're the world's worst business owner, or you're brand new, or you have no confidence, you can do that each and every day. And eventually someone will say yes. A lot of times, guys, it's the same thing with dating, right? They get mad that girls will not say yes to them. But the thing is, they don't ask out enough girls. And if they just ask out more girls, they get more yeses. Even if they're weird, even if they look strange, even if they're not jacked, right? Whatever you want to say. So that has to be your mindset. And then once you make some sales, that cash will help to grow your business, right? Because $2,000 here, $3,000 there, now you're making some real money. Now you can actually put that into advertising or marketing or hiring or training, whatever it is. But $47 isn't going to cut it. Now we go to the next phase. The next phase would be your followers. And I'd probably start here. So in mind, guys, in a perfect world, I'm basically going backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You'd want to start at 1 and work down. So you can see hardest to easiest. All right. Hardest would be trying to go viral content. Next is going to be cold outreach. Next is going to be your own followers. Now with followers, you're going to do a similar approach, but it's going to be 100 messages, 30% respond is what you're going for. About 5 to 7 people book a call, and then you close 2 or 3. Now, if you're not hitting those numbers, the reason I'm telling you those numbers is if you're not hitting it, it means you're not good at that skill. Meaning, if you send 100 messages and only 10 people respond and they're following you, your first message was weird, period. It's weird. So you have to have a better first message. If you get 30 people to respond, but you only book 1 call instead of 7, your messaging process is off. Like you're asking the wrong questions. You're not pushing and pulling properly. And that's probably the harder skill to learn. You have to go through sales. Okay. If you guys need to learn that, there's a link down below to my free university, and go through the sales training. Okay. And then the next part is then the sales call, right? So if you're not closing the deals, you're not good at sales. And don't be discouraged if you're not good at these skills. I wasn't good at these skills either to start. I knocked on 20,000 doors, door-to-door sales. I've sold I've sold probably 20,000 people or something crazy. Like I've taken so many sales calls, it would make you guys dizzy. I would take 8 sales calls a day probably for the first, I want to say year or 2 years. Like it was nuts. Like I was working crazy hours, taking crazy amounts of sales calls. So you'll learn. As you put in more time, you'll learn. After you've done that, you should have some cash. Now, once we've done that, we go into paid traffic, and we're going to do boosted posts. So I'm going to show you guys on the screen what a boosted post looks like. The reason boosted posts are so great, just so you guys understand, is they're cheaper, and you don't have to set up funnels and have emails and automations and all that other nonsense, right? So if I come here, you guys will actually see, I can boost this post right here. So I'll click boost post, and I'll say visit your profile, and I'll pick who I want. So, I could come down here and, it says create your own, and I'll type in the audience name, location, the age, whatever. And then I'll choose how much I want to spend per day. All right. That's it. And then you can boost it, and it literally works. That is how simple it is to run a boosted post. There's pros and cons. The pro is that it's really cheap. So if I spend $1,000 on a boosted post, what I'm looking for is 10 to 20 cent profile views. Okay. $1 to $2 per follower. And then again, you want that same 30% response rate, and then you'll book X amount of calls and close. The 30% response rate would be for if you had 500 followers, right? So I spend $1,000, 500 followers, I get 150 responses, I book 7 calls, I close 2 deals. Like that would make you a ton of money. The main thing you have to realize, and the con of this, is you still have to outreach. So you have to go on these posts and you have to message all the likes. You have to message all the comments. And guys, don't worry if they don't like it or they get mad at you. You're never going to talk to these people again. Like you're trying to help people, and by helping people, you'll help yourself. That's how the world works. But if you're scared of what people are going to say or what they're going to think, you're not going to go anywhere really fast. So make sure you're reaching out to those individuals. Once you've done that, then we can go to paid ads. Okay. And so if I were to show you paid ads, this is more what paid ads look like. So I'm running this one here, for example, it's a DM campaign. So when people come through here, I'll just show you quickly. This is an ad I'm running right now, right? So it's like, hey, if you're a personal trainer, it's one of my offers. And when they come down and click on the ad, this is what they'll see. They'll click on the message and it says, hey, you ready for the training? Click the word below and we'll send it over. And then when they click it, they'll get this link to the opt-in page. All right. That's what I like to do. And from there, the benefit is the con is it's more expensive, right? This could cost me $10 or $15 per person, which if you don't have a lot of money, this is not a good idea. That's why it's last in the order. But B, they come straight to me. So if they come straight to me, I don't really like, that's the trade-off, is you can now build the business and make it more predictable. Okay. So that is steps 1 through 5 on how to generate traffic. In a perfect world, you could start with paid ads and work down. Most of you need to start at level 3, your warm followers. Then you're going to go to level 4, which is going to be cold. And then you're going to go to boosted posts once you've made a couple sales. And then you go to level 1. Level 5 is reserved for people who have big teams, who want to build a big brand, who have a lot of money. It is not reserved for beginners. That is bad advice. 2% of content creators, look it up on Google, 2% of content creators get over 100,000 followers. So when a content creator tells you that you can build a following, it sounds nice because they want you to believe that, but it's really hard. It's easier to make a lot of money and not have a lot of followers than to get a lot of followers and make a lot of money. It's much harder. So I'm not saying don't go for your dreams or don't try that, but the reason most people fail and quit is they try to do too hard of tasks to begin with and they don't work up to it.